The Betrayal Chapter 3. The day went by fast. The thoughts of what Ava had done kept my mind active, but our old friends did a good job of keeping me distracted. No one made mention of Ira or Ava. I could see bigger smiles from our friends whenever they asked to see my demon form. I think showing them one of my worst moments helped them realize I didn't want to hurt anyone. But now I feel like I'm forced to. I hope I can change Ava's mind. "Bye, everyone," Star said as we started walking away. The sun was setting and the others had to go home. "Are you sure you don't want to stay the night at my house? I don't want you guys catching a cold out there," Cassie said, waving goodbye. "Can demons catch colds?" Maddie mumbled, looking at Cassie confused. "I don't know, but Star still can, you dummy." Cassie bonked Maddie softly on the head, making all of us laugh. "I'm sure, guys. Besides, nature is better than you'd think. The stars shine so brightly outside of town." I make my wings appear and pick up Star and her stuff up, smiling over my shoulder at her friends as they wave goodbye. "Be safe out there. There's been news about..." A burst of wind hit my ears, blocking out the rest of what Sierra said. I shook it off and flew off. "Did she say something about a wolf?" Star mumbled, looking up at me. I rolled my eyes. "You know you're safe. We'll be fine," I say, chuckling slightly. She relaxed. I flew for about 15 minutes till we found an opening in the trees. I felt so tired, but still so awake. I set Star down softly, her body weighing her down as her feet hit the ground. She smiled at the soft grass below her, soon sitting down. "I'm gonna go find some firewood," I say, sitting the stuff down beside her. "Okay, please don't take long," she said, grabbing out the blanket from the bag. I fly off. My wings are droopy as I glide along the rough deer paths, picking up scraps of trees as I fly. I don't think I need too much, so I just get about an arm's full before flying back to Star. She was sitting there with her head resting on her knees, drawing in the dirt with a stick. "I'm back," I say, smiling, putting the wood in a pile in front of us and igniting it with my fire. "I almost forgot you could do that." She looked up at me, her smile toned down by how tired she was. After a second or two, she rests her head back on her knees, looking into the fire that went from my colorful purple and red to a normal red and orange as it sparked to life. I feel myself admiring the life of this flame, how free it looked compared to my normal, contained fire. I shiver as the wind blows past me, making the fire spark and lash out. The wind dies down quickly, and after it stops, Star lies down curled in a ball almost facing the fire. Her eyes lit up slightly before they closed. I put my jacket over her, worried about her catching a cold as our friend's words got to my head. As I sit there watching the fire, I flinch suddenly as I hear rustling behind us, quickly turning around to face whatever it was. My palms ready to create fire to protect Star, and after a few seconds and a soft, almost thick-sounding clunk of something hitting the dirt just behind the bush, I see a wolf pup walk out from the bushes. It stared at me for a second, its silver eyes glinting in the moonlight, red flickering off them from the flame behind me. And before I could shift, turn around to get a better look at it and shoo it off, I noticed a collar around its neck, and another string around it as well. It seemed to look at me with a calm hatred, almost wild as it walked towards Star. I glare at it, shifting and finally turning around completely, now on my knees. It glared back at me, growled softly, and continued walking towards Star. "Shoo! Leave her alone!" I say in a whisper, yell-like tone. It just huffs and curls up beside her, almost snuggling into the sweater I put over her. I stared at them, curled up together under the blanket, confused. I look around, trying to find its mother, or someone who lost this pup, taking better notice of the collar. I sigh, lying down on my side of the blanket, thinking it was safe to say this wolf pup was the least of our concerns. I opened my eyes to a darkened room around me, something I had grown accustomed to, something I'd like to call my headspace. It reflected a soft purple hue. It was like a void where I could decide to stand on something that wasn't there or just kind of float aimlessly. I rest there, waiting for the peacefulness to change into some sort of nightmare like it does night after night. The new information about Ava was just fuel to the fire here. I flinch as I hear someone clear their throat behind me. I spin around just to see a wolf, much bigger than the one I had saw just before I fell asleep. I chuckled to myself. There was a different fuel to the fire this time. You need to protect Star and yourself, it said lowly, a very human, masculine voice. It seemed to echo around my head. That smile that was on my face faded as I stared at him. Don't be fooled by who you trust. I scoff, anger forming towards this wolf. Who the hell are you to tell me who to trust? I glare at this wolf, taking a few steps towards him but never getting closer. And I already know someone I trusted is trying to kill me. He seemed to contemplate his words as he looked down. And who are you? I crossed my arms in front of me. You'll find out soon enough, he said with a sigh. Questions flooded my mind as it stood up. You two are in danger, no matter the path you choose. Wait, you know something. Wait, don't go, please. Tell me how to protect Star. I yell as it starts walking away, the black void of my mind fading around us. The paw steps of this wolf fade as I wake. Star's humming filled my ears as I opened my eyes, confused as to why she would be humming in the darkness. It wasn't until my eyes opened that I realized it was bright outside, but Star had put my sweater over me to block out the blaring sun. I pulled my sweater off my head and stood up to look at her. She was playing with a stick again, but drawing circles around the paw prints left by the wolf pup. I stared down at my feet, going over what happened. Then my stomach growls, getting Star's attention. She smiles at me and leaves the stick beside one of the prints. Good morning. Sorry if I woke you up, she said softly, sitting down beside me. I waved my hand dismissively. No, you didn't wake me. I had a weird dream. Anyway, should I try and get us some fish for brunch? I smile softly, stretching out, my back popping as I do so. Oh yeah, I can help too. Star grabbed her stick again. It was too short to do any good with, but it made me smile to see her happy to help. After about 3 hours, I started heading over with Star to see our friends again. We were able to catch and cook some rainbow trout for brunch, going to our mom's favorite fishing spot like we used to when we were younger. We met up with them at the park, and Cassie comes running towards us, the others following quickly behind. Emma, Ira called you. You need to call her back, she said, pushing the phone into my hands. She had traces of fear in her eyes as she looked into mine. I could tell Ira already told them what she was about to tell me. I dial Ira back, and the moment she answers, I couldn't help but feel guilty for the fear in her tone. Emma? She said softly. I confirmed it was me before she continued. Her voice didn't seem to stop, like every word had to come out as fast as it did, or it would be lost. Ava's starting a mission with the organization. She gave me orders to direct you to an old warehouse just a few blocks from the school. They're going to perform a spell in a week. How are we supposed to think of anything in that time? I don't want you guys to get hurt. I hand Star the phone as my fist twitches, anger making my fist tight beside me as she takes the phone. She said they have so many people already. What kind of spell needs that many people? She continued to ramble. I could hear her sniffle a few times as she cried. I looked down at the ground, scared to look at anyone with the amount of anger in my eyes. We'll figure it out, I say, more to myself than Ira. I run my hand through my hair as silence falls upon the group. Guilty stares from our friends for not being able to prepare me for this. A stressed chuckle escapes my lips as I grip my hair, my eyes turning black, glowing brightly as tears formed in them. We can figure it out, right? I saw my tears drip off my face, hitting the blurred blades of grass below me. Pain splits through my back as my demon form forces its way out, my protective magic lashing out and the tears in my eyes doubling down, filling them. Ira, listen, we'll figure this out when we get back. We'll make plans. We'll figure out how to double-cross Ava. Just be strong for us. Can you do that? Star said softly. I flinch as I feel her hand on my back, my wings folding around me slowly as the tears get worse, my body shaking. I know it's hard. I know you're scared, but I promise you, we won't let anything happen to you. We'll make it our goal to keep the ones we love safe, and you know Emma won't let anything get in the way of doing that. Yeah, Ira said through sniffles. I can do that. You're one of our strongest friends. To see Emma hurt like you did and still help me carry her home. I know you're strong, just like us. Star smiled at her friends in front of us, showing she meant no ill will towards them with her words. Yeah, Ira said, more confidently, a final sniffle as she cleared her throat. We got this. I'll make sure to keep you guys updated so we can overthrow Ava. Star smiled softly at Ira's words. We got this, I repeated to myself, my body still shaking violently, my knees are shaking under my weight. We've got this. We got this. My voice cracked as tears still dripped off my face. I didn't realize how little I was breathing, holding my breath so I wouldn't cry out. Ira, I have to hang up now. I promise we'll find you when we get home, Star said softly. I felt her eyes on me as I continued to shake, my vision getting dark as I bit down on my tongue, my fingers gripping my hair tightly. I heard the phone click as she hung up. I closed my eyes tightly, but the space that welcomed my closed eyes only made it worse. The black-purple hue that filled my mind reminded me of the dream. That wolf's words echo in my head. You need to protect Star and yourself. As his words echoed, I couldn't help but choke out a cry, although I may have done so too late. The air around me felt light as my knees finally gave out under me. Star's panicked voice, as she caught me, cried out. I couldn't open my eyes to escape the void around me. The breath that entered my lungs soon after felt like a shock wave to my body. Minutes seemed to pass like seconds as that breath turned into many shallow breaths before I finally seemed to catch it. A sharp intake of air allowed me to finally open my eyes. I jolted upwards, my eyes flickering around me just to see all of her friends sitting around me looking at me terrified. Star's tear-filled eyes stared with that same horror. There you go, Emma. Please, breathe. It's okay. I looked at Star, who smiled softly, her words grounding me as I clutched my chest, forcing myself to breathe at a slightly normal pace. I stared past everyone at the sky, closing my eyes just to focus on her instructions. It's okay. Just breathe. That was the first time I've ever passed out. The fear of being trapped in my head because of my actions forced me to remember to breathe. Are you okay? Maddie said softly. I opened my eyes to look at her, my wings uncomfortable as Star held me, my tail wrapped tightly around what I thought was my leg until I noticed it was Star's. As I uncurl it, she smiles at me, a pained expression leaving her face. I just kind of glance around the group, my breath coming more natural to me now. I close my eyes, resting my body as it returns to normal, my wings disappearing, Star having to catch me slightly. A groan of pain escapes my mouth as I bring my hand up to my head, still feeling lightheaded and dizzy. I heard some shifting, but I didn't want to open my eyes just yet, calming myself down. I flinch as I feel the fuzziness of our blanket wrapped around me. Sierra standing proudly over us when I opened my eyes. It brought a smile to my face as she sat back down along with the others. I focused my attention on Maddie, forgetting about her question for a few minutes. Yeah, sorry, I'm okay. I mumble, rubbing my face to collect myself, before tracing my fingers upwards, running them through my hair and smiling at Star as I sit up. She lets go softly, wrapping the rest of the blanket around me as we sit there for a moment. Do you remember what just happened? Star said softly, looking at me attentively. Watching my eyes as I searched my mind for what happened, blurry memories before I was able to grab a hold of the right one. My eyes defensively turned black as I remember what Yura said. I'll take that as a yes. What? Oh, yeah, I remember. Sucks, though. I groaned, grounding myself as I wrapped the blanket tighter around me. I glanced at Cassie, who was looking at her watch. How much time do we have till we should start heading home? I looked between the group. Star and Cassie exchanged a glance before Cassie spoke up. About 45 minutes. Everyone seemed to frown. I stand up, ignoring my shaking legs, knowing if I'll get going, it'll stop. Well, that means we have 45 minutes to play some cloud tag. I smile at Star, pulling her up. And I promise no demon shenanigans this time. I'll stay in my human form so you guys at least have some chance at winning. They smile and stand. Star and Cassie already bolting for the field to get a head start. Sierra and Maddie doing rock, paper, scissors to choose who will be first. And I just start to walk away, giving myself a chance to warm my legs up before running, and so I can juke whoever it is out and they can run for me first. And just as I thought, as Sierra wins, Maddie comes running towards me. I glance over my shoulder, my heart skipping a beat as I see her running a lot faster than before. I turn, trying to miss her hand reaching to tag me, barely being able to move out of the way just to laugh and run towards the others as Maddie chases me. The time passes, and Star and I are packing up our stuff. Sierra came running from around the block with granola bars and some sandwiches. Here, remember to take breaks. She smiles and hands them to Star as she packs the rest of our stuff up into our backpacks. We will. I'll make sure of it, Star says, nudging me with her elbow. I roll my eyes, smiling at the others. Cassie and Maddie glance at each other before running towards me and Star. Group hug! They yell as they leap towards us. I groan as the others do the same, squeezing me and Star. God, I'm gonna miss you guys, I say, smiling, messing up Cassie's hair. They all back off so I can take off. With my wings formed, I pick up Star, smiling one last time at our friends as we start to fly home. Be safe, Cassie yells, waving along with the others. I shake the tears from my eyes as I look down at Star. Okay, which way are we headed? She smiles up at me, looking back down at the map and her compass in hand, and pointed straight ahead. Awesome. I thought my internal compass was good. She rolls her eyes. Oh, hush. It's only because I taught you. She continued to fly, the wind against my wings making me smile. It wasn't too often I got to fly with Star anymore, let alone a huge trip like this one. Soaring over the trees of the outskirts of town, I noticed the small animals galloping through some trees, some birds that flew a few yards away from us. It was peaceful, a much-needed change from this morning. My brain goes on autopilot as I continue to fly. About an hour later, we took a break. Star suggested I take more than last time. We had time to, after all. We left about noon, so we would get home much sooner than sundown. As we walked out of the forest, a ping of hatred fueled by my protective magic flared to the surface. My eyes scanned the gas station, fear lacing my expression as my heart skipped a beat. In my shaky state, I stumbled, tripping over a tree root and landing on my knees. My back ached as I kept my wings unformed. Hey, it's okay. She's not here this time, Star said softly, reaching her hand out and helping me up. I groaned, annoyed at my body as my fingers traced my hair. Are you okay to keep flying like this? She looked up at me, genuine concern plastered on her face. I nod and look past her, still analyzing the area. I'll be okay. Let's just get this break over and done with. I can't wait to rest in my own bed, I say, smiling weakly at her. It was a forced smile, but I'm glad my words got a snicker out of her. Once we were back in the air, our first, second, and third break over, we had been traveling for about 5 hours, and I was getting tired. My limbs dropped as I flew, my wings gliding on the air currents more than flapping. Star looked up at me, almost as tired as I was. I know we have to get home, but taking a break wouldn't be a bad idea. Get you rested properly so you don't drop me? She looks below her, the trees speedily passing below us. I can't imagine the pain of crashing into all those trees, I sigh, glancing around for an open spot to land. Fine, but only for an hour. I take a few minutes and then land. My feet felt relieved as I hit the ground, my shoes feeling tight, but it felt nice not to rely on my wings for a second more. At least for now. I stretched my body out, my arms stretched above my head, and my wings stretched as far as they could go. It felt nice as my back popped again. Star rests on the grass looking at the sky, which is still a bright blue. Since the summer months were arriving soon, we still had so much sunlight left throughout the day. I sighed, sitting next to her. You know we only have about 2 hours left, right? If I fly faster, wake myself up, and push myself, then we'll get there in an hour and a half. I smiled at Star. She looked at me annoyed that I would push myself for a reason that seemed so stupid to her. Come on, I know you like it when I push myself a little. I do all those cool tricks and pick up speed just to freak you out. I nudged her shoulder. She smiled, tiredness in her eyes as she looked at me. I couldn't help but overread her expression, the guilt laced in the corners of her smile, the fear and sadness in her eyes, the bags under her eyes filled with worry. I can't imagine how strong she keeps forcing herself to be for me. I forced myself to stop staring at her, doing the only thing I could really think of doing. I couldn't read her mind, I could only read the expression I'd grown up to understand. I hug her tightly, my wings wrapping around us. You are so strong, and I wish I could express to you how proud I am of that. I chuckle softly. You really do act like the bigger sister, but I worry that's my fault. Dealing with me and everything my existence has put you through. You had to grow up too fast, and please, don't fight me on this one this time. Just know I'm proud of you, and you're doing a great job. She was silent beside me, her body shaking softly before calming down. Well, She pushes away slightly, looking me in the eyes. I may have had to grow up too fast, but I have learned so much in that short time. Things people take years to figure out. How to stay calm in the worst of circumstances. How to calm others down in those same times. She takes a soft but deep breath in. And I think it's an honor to know and understand all of it. Especially if that means being the bigger sister. If I'm not growing any taller, then you gotta look up to me in some way. She smiles at me, pushing my shoulder. Ha! You wish. You may act older, but that still means you're my little sis. I push her back. It got silent between us as we sat and looked at the clouds passing over us. I mean it, Starine. She looks at me, an odd smile on her face, one of admiration and appreciation. You are the strongest person I know, and I don't think that'll ever change. We sit comfortably in the silence before we decide it's time to get back on the move, starting the last of our journey back home. As we reach the city, we decide against flying straight to our neighborhood. If there are scouts looking for me, then flying out in the daylight would just be asking for something bad to happen. We start walking into the city, and about 15 minutes go by before a random car pulls up beside us, Ira hanging out the window. Hey guys, need a ride? She smiles as her mom pulls over a little ahead of us. We run up to them, smiling wide. Heck yeah, you're a lifesaver! You can't imagine how hard that whole trip was on the back, I yell, jumping in the back seat. How did you know where we were? Star said gently, getting in the other side, putting our bags between us. It was a coincidence. We were just getting back from a random drive. I smile as Ira talks. I rest my head back after buckling myself in. Ira's mom was silent in front of us as she started driving again. I didn't mind it. The questions she asked last time were annoying. I snicker at my thoughts as Ira turns up the radio. A good song coming on that Star and Ira both started singing to. I glance at her mom. The longer she stayed silent, the more it felt off. But as Star smiled, nudging me to join in the singing, I couldn't help but push the unwelcome thoughts away and enjoy the moment. I sang along quietly beside them as I continued to rest. We got home about 20 minutes later, and our mom was waiting for us by the front door. I sink in my seat as she looks at us, her eyes almost glaring at us. Welcome home, she says softly, her kind voice matching the smile on her face. I couldn't help but worry that she knew, and as she looked at Ira's mom, I groaned knowing they talked about it. She closes the door behind us, and I prepare to get scolded. I turn to her, taking some extra time to take off my shoes as Star goes and puts our stuff away. I meet her eyes, worried but accepting anything she has to say to me. Her eyes were stern, and her smile faded as she glared down at me. My body shook slightly as I awaited what I deserved. My eyes widen as she smiles and rubs my head, laughing softly like she was holding it in for a while. I bet your back is sore. I can't imagine your father ever flying that far, let alone twice in a weekend, not including you carrying your sister the whole time. Star peeked her head around the corner as she looked at us. Mom looked between us, a soft, stern look coming back from her face. But I expect no more lying from either of you. I nod quickly as Star pouts, an angry look at me as she glares at me. It was a told-you-so glare as she turned and walked away. I sigh and hug my mom. Want me to run you a bath? I should have some Epsom salts that'll help. I nod, my tired body not wanting to let go as she hugs me back. I am just glad both of you are safe. I felt a tinge of guilt after she turned and walked upstairs to our bathroom. I felt like I lied to her by not responding. Yeah, we are safe now, but I found out we are in so much more danger. I can't break her heart knowing that. Hey, Emma, Star said, getting my attention. I turned around to look at her as she held up the last granola bar from our bags. Mine? I laughed softly, waving my hand dismissively. All yours, I say softly, heading upstairs.